Welcome to Connecting the Pieces, the 8th International Symposium and Scientific Meeting on Alagille Syndrome, presented by Mirum Pharmaceuticals. The ALGSA Research Roundtable, What Matters to Families in ALGS Research, a Roadmap to the Future, is made possible by a PCOR Eugene Washington Engagement Award. Let's take a closer look at PCOR and the Engagement Awards. PCOR, the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, is an independent research institute established in 2010. Governed by a 21-member board reflecting all stakeholder perspectives, PCOR's mission is to fund research that helps people make informed healthcare decisions and to improve healthcare delivery and outcomes by producing and promoting high-integrity, evidence-based information that comes from research guided by patients, caregivers, and the broader healthcare community. A core aspect of PCOR-funded research is the direct involvement of and engagement with healthcare stakeholders. The end goal is to generate evidence that directly informs patients, caregivers, clinicians, and researchers in decision-making. This includes influencing research to be patient-centered, relevant, and useful, establishing trust and legitimacy in research findings, and also to include successful uptake and use of the research results. Engagement is defined by PCOR as meaningful involvement of patients, caregivers, clinicians, and other stakeholders throughout the research process. The Eugene Washington PCOR Engagement Awards were launched in 2014. These awards support PCOR's engagement imperative to 1. Develop a PCOR or patient-centered outcomes research-ready community to establish an infrastructure in PCOR. Also to engage these communities in the research process, and to promote dissemination of PCOR and CER evidence. The PCOR Eugene Washington Engagement Awards fund projects that build a community better able to participate in PCOR and CER, as well as to serve as a channel to disseminate related study results. But what is PCOR? Let's go through some fundamentals of PCOR, or Patient-Centered Outcomes Research. PCOR can be applied to many different interventions or therapies, including preventative, diagnostic, therapeutic, palliative, or health delivery system interventions. PCOR compares the benefits and harms of these interventions and aims to find out how well these therapies work in everyday settings, not just in clinical trials. Ideally, PCOR looks at the effectiveness of interventions, considering variables not always tested in clinical trial. In ALGS, these variables could include patients who have multiple organ involvement, have different severity of symptoms, or have gone through one or more transplants. As you know, these and other variables can greatly affect how well a treatment works. PCOR, just as the name implies, patient-centered, focuses on outcomes that matter to you, the patient and caregiver. When we talk about patient-centered outcomes, we are referring to outcomes that patients notice and care about when they make healthcare decisions. Good shared decision-making means talking to patients about what is important to them. And we have to remember that each person is different, and what matters to one may not matter to another. We can see a real-life example of this with our patient and family survey. We all know the importance of treating itch, and how critical that is to most ALGS families. But we see that for 18% of survey respondents, the most important research priority is not itch. It's research regarding integrated care of connected diseases. Patient-centered, and all patients do not share the same priorities. PCOR, tools not rules. PCOR should be informative but not dictate. PCOR offers information to help patients and caregivers come to decisions that work for their lives. PCOR does not tell providers how to practice medicine, nor should it replace clinical judgment, replace clinical practice guidelines, or provide clinical recommendations. So what are the goals of the ALGSA Research Roundtable? The overarching goal of the Research Roundtable is to develop a roadmap for PCOR and CER in ALGS that informs future scientific inquiry and therapeutic discovery. At the Roundtable, we will identify knowledge gaps and priorities in PCOR, CER, and ALGS. We will formulate research questions that focus on what matters to patients and caregivers, and prioritize those questions to address the most pressing concerns expressed by participants. We will also develop potential studies in ALGS. Patient-centered starts with you. In our patient and family survey, we asked if you felt you personally have a voice in ALGS research. More than half of the respondents said no, but with PCOR, there's an opportunity to change that. Notice this quote from one survey respondent. "This survey is the most of a voice I've ever felt I had in this regard." Thank you again for using your voice to impact the future of ALGS research and care. We are connecting the pieces and could not do this without you. For more details about PCOR, CER, and PCORI, please follow the links provided here. We look forward to seeing you in Cincinnati in June.